Hi there, Dave, Elizabeth, Mark, Kathy. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday morning. Happy spring. I hope everyone is having some nice weather wherever you are. It's getting a little warmer here in Santa Fe. Really happy about that. Seeing all the birds and just enjoying some sunshine. So I hope you all are doing really well out there. Everyone's getting vaccinated and we can stay safe and start to see each other in person. How amazing is that? Wonderful. Okay, so as people are continuing to file on in, just want to welcome you to our training this morning for support group leaders. So nice to see you. If you are new to us today, I think I might see a couple of new faces. My name is Shannon Elliott, and I am the manager of our support group leader network that we call Nsync. And so we do ongoing trainings, and we have roundtables that we invite you to attend and share ideas with one another on an ongoing basis. I'm doing regional workshops across the country at this point, all on Zoom, but hopefully going back in person, maybe by the fall, who knows? So yes, welcome, welcome. I have two colleagues with me here today. So I've got Rebecca, who you probably have seen before, and then we have Kelly. So Kelly, can you give a wave and maybe say hello? And so Kelly is one of our newest team members here at PMD Alliance. She is our coordinator of online programs. And so she's going to be helping me just with the tech backend. As you know, I preach this every single time that it's really helpful for you to have tech backup whenever you're doing Zoom meetings. You can't do it all yourself. So just really have a team behind you if you can. So if you want to say hi, Kelly, let them know where you are.
Hello, everybody. I am in, I was going to say beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. It is still beautiful. We've had some storms lately, but it's it's a lovely day today. So hello, I'm glad to be here. And yeah, I'll be learning some things today too with everybody. So Zoom is always changing and it's always fun. So
yes, well, thank you so much, Kelly. Appreciate you being here to help out. So AC, I see you just put something in the chat. You're limited to 9 screens. Do you mean 9 images of different people? And then here I see 20 screens. So I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask that question, maybe it's something we can all learn from. I just asked you to unmute on your screen if you want to click that button.
There we go.
There you are.
Yeah, usually I see something that looks like Hollywood squares with 3 images across and 3 down. And here I see a whole bunch of smaller ones. And I'm wondering if that's just a quirk of my machine or how you managed to do that.
Well, that's interesting you say that. I'm wondering if it's the type of programs that you might be on or on webinars where it's limited, where you can't see a lot of the attendees. So here at PMD Alliance, we like to see as many people as we can on our screen to have that sense of a crowd, and we can all see facial expressions and things like that. So if you're in gallery mode, then you will be able to see everyone on your screen as long as it's fewer than 50, I believe. So is that your understanding, Rebecca and Kelly? Is there anything I'm missing possibly with AC's experience?
So it really depends on your settings as well. If you go into your video settings, there's like a spot where you can tell it how many people that you want to be able to see at a time. Like I actually can see up to 49 on my screen. I have a very big screen. So I know that sometimes, like if you're using a smaller laptop, it may limit it to 25. But you can usually do that from there as well.
I'm just curious because AC, if you didn't actually manually click anything different, why you might be seeing it differently today. So this is how we typically see our screens if you have chosen to see more than 20 or 25. Yes.
Smaller squares.
I've taken all this stuff.
So maybe we will have Donna. I think I saw a little box show up. Maybe you're trying to explain something.
I think he's seeing smaller boxes because this is a meeting with more participants than he's used to seeing.
That could be
It
true
goes
as well.
25 to the screen, and then you can have multiple pages of people.
Absolutely. So that could be true if you're typically on a smaller support group, maybe AC, where you might have just, 9 people or so. Then it would be bigger squares, fewer people. So hopefully that's helpful.
I'm thinking it might have to do with the platform. Historically, I used an iPad and now I'm back on my laptop.
That's exactly what it is. Okay, good to know. Yes, depending on your device is what you'll be going to dictate how you see the meeting. So a smartphone would even be fewer people. I think it might even be 4 or something on a smartphone.
I think
Perfect.
David Cox said the same thing was true on his Chromebook as well. So
Oh,
usually the
good.
smaller the device, and even just like what the device is capable of. A computer has more video memory, that kind of a thing, versus a phone or an iPad. So.
Okay, we solved the mystery. Okay, all righty. So let us go ahead and proceed. So I have some things that I would love to share with you today. I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you. And Elizabeth, I hear a little bit of background noise, so I'm just going to mute you. Okay, and if there's anything that you'd like to tell us, just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you, and we can learn some fun things that Zoom has added. Okay, so I just want to thank you all again for showing up today and finding ways to continue to help your support group members. So for today's agenda, we are first going to take on the closed captioning feature. So that's to help out folks who are a little bit harder of hearing, and they can have an ongoing transcript of the proceedings of the meeting as it goes along, and it's just really, really helpful. I'm glad that Zoom has offered this. They used to allow closed captioning, but it was for third-party companies you would have to pay for it. So now it's free. And so this is a really great service that they have started to offer. Some people in the last roundtable were concerned about security on Zoom. We're always, interested to keep our meetings safe. So I just wanted to do a little overview of security today. I'm not sure if you've noticed, if you've been onto our new website, but I just wanted to let you know about some of those changes, and then specifically for you as support group leaders, where you can find resources for you, and then all of the videos, the video library of all the trainings like we're doing today. So there's a specific place where you need to look for those videos. And then if we have any time left at the end of the day, this will be an hour and a half. We can just do open forum Q&A to see if there are any questions that you're dealing with. Okay, moving on. Let me just check the chat for a moment. Okay, so it looks like Rebecca's replying. So thank you for taking care of the chat. As you know, or maybe if you haven't shared your screen before as a host on Zoom, sometimes you can't see all the windows at the same time. I did see that there was a chat message, but I couldn't see it until I opened it. So sometimes I have to kind of take a moment and just make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so I'm going to start to talk about our closed captions. So, okay, so closed captions, you might have been familiar with those on, on TV or on movies. And so there is a way to do that for our support group meetings, which is really great. So the way that you need to set this up is from the back end. So if you have your own Zoom account, then you would need to log in to the www.zoom.us and then log in with all your credentials to get into the back end of your account. All right, so that's the first step. You would then, on the very left-hand side of your screen, there's a settings option in that left-hand menu. You're going to click on that. So you'll see here, I've taken a little screenshot of what it looks like once you click on settings. So you're going to be scrolling to the in meeting in parentheses advanced section. So that is right there. It's highlighted in blue. And so if you click on that in meeting advanced, it's going to shoot you down the page to where you want to go to find the closed captions option. So once you do, it's going to look like this. Hopefully you can see my mouse moving. And the closed caption option is right here, and you'll see this little toggle. And so what you're going to want to do is make sure that that is clicked on, which means it's over to the right and that it's highlighted in blue. Okay, so that's what you want to toggle on. And then from there, you want to check the enable live transcription option, which is this little box right here. You want to make sure that that is clicked on. And then, so that's all taking place in the back end. It's the zoom.us account. And so from there, you've opened your Zoom meeting. You are now a host and you're running your meeting. So what would happen is you're going to click on a button that's going to show up in your menu at the bottom of your screen. It's called Live Transcript. So I've circled it here. So I'll show you in a moment where that will show up for you. It's typically to the right-hand side of that lower menu between the record option and reactions. Okay. And so from there, you're going to select enable auto transcription, which will start your closed captions. And so that is found right there, that enable auto transcription. As the host, you click on that. And it's basically going to show up on all of your participants' screen. At the bottom of the screen, they'll see an option for live transcription as well. Now you have some more options, more specificities that you can get into with this. So this next instruction here, it says click on the arrow next to live transcript to find a submenu. So I've taken a little screenshot of that as well. So as the host, you're going to see this little caret or this little arrow here, which will give you this sub menu here. And I believe that's also the case for participants. So we'll just make sure that that is true and that I'm not mistaken here. Let's see. So I think there's some background noise. If Rebecca or Kelly, you can find that. Thank you. Okay, so the sub menu, which is right here, there are three options. The first one being hide subtitle. So that is if you want to turn off the subtitles. Okay, so you can toggle back and forth and say, yes, you want to turn it on, and then they'll show up and they'll keep running for you. And then you're like, oh, that's too distracting. I don't like the way that feels. You can then hide them. Okay, the next option below that is view full transcript. Okay, so that will open a pane, like a new pane on the right side of your screen. And then all of a sudden you're going to see the transcript continuing on. And it's a running transcript. It's not the captions that appear and disappear as it goes. It's actually a running transcript that will just keep going, keep going. One thing that I have discovered, and I think that this will be the case for everyone, is that you cannot have the running full transcript on the right side of your page in that pane and also have the chat and participants pane open, because it's taking place on the same side of your screen. So you'll have to toggle back and forth between those. So it's either the transcript running, or you can have chat and participants open. Okay, so we can continue to play with that and just make sure I'm right. And then we have the final option here. The third selection here is subtitle settings. And that, if you click on that, will open what I call the ground control window, which is where you can change all the settings in your Zoom account there. And if you open the subtitle settings, there is an option in that ground control that is called accessibility. Okay, so if you think about, hearing impairment or something like that, so that makes sense where you would find information on how to modify your subtitles would be in the accessibility category. And I'll try to show that to you in real time in just a moment. And in there, you can actually adjust how large the font is of your closed captions at the bottom of the screen. So you can make them quite large if you have trouble seeing as well, or if you want them smaller, to be lower on your screen so you can see more of the faces. So you have lots of options here. And what I'd like to do is to show you how this works in reality. So I'm going to stop this share and then just make sure everyone is okay. Let's see, Art, I see your question. Where are the settings? We're going to go to the back end on Zoom now. Perfect. And then, yes, and Rebecca, you did explain as well. So I would like to share my web browser. Okay, so I'm using Firefox. Doesn't really matter which one you use. And then I'd like to show you how to turn on closed captions, especially if you're using your own Zoom account and you're not on PMD Alliance's Pro Zoom account. So let's see here. Okay, Kelly, Rebecca, can you see my, okay, great. So I need to move this a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so you can see that we're at zoom.us. And I have already logged in to the account this morning, so I don't have to go through the whole sign-in process. But basically this My Account button, it's going to take me to PMD Alliance's Nsync Zoom account, which is where everything lives. Okay, so this is Nsync Online. I know this is my account name. So this is the left-hand menu that I was explaining before. So what we need to do to find closed captions is to go to settings here. And then I actually want to increase the size of this a little bit. So if you saw that, if it's too small, then I don't get that sub menu to show up. But if I make it a little bit bigger, hopefully you're seeing that. This sub menu comes up. Do you see that, Rebecca? Yes. Okay, perfect. So I told you about the in meeting advanced option, which is where I want to go to take me to where I want to go more quickly, basically. So it's going to scroll me down the screen. There are tons of settings available. So if I just click that, zoom, it just takes me right down to the screen, or down the screen to in meeting advanced here. So if I scroll slowly down, I'll come to closed captioning right there. And so this is that toggle that I want it to be activated. I want it to be to the right and blue, just like that. And then I will want this to be enabled as well. Okay, so that's how you access the settings and from the back end. Now, let's go back to our Zoom meeting. I'm going to stop this share. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure that I didn't miss anything in the chat. So yes, Donna, I did enable the closed captions for this meeting prior to getting on with you this morning. And so that is something that is important to know, that you need to do that ahead of time before starting your meeting. You need to go ahead and enable those closed captions. So let me think for just a moment. I want to share my Zoom windows with you. So I'm going to start sharing my desktop. All right. Okay. So hopefully you're seeing my desktop. So again, this can be a little bit confusing because not only are you seeing your own Zoom menu at the bottom of your screen, you're now seeing my Zoom menu. So do you see my arrow going back and forth? These are my controls. So I just have the ability to share my controls with you because of a magic little button that I clicked before the meeting. So I want you to see what shows up for me as the host. So do you see this right here, CC live transcript? So you don't see it yet as participants because I haven't enabled it as the host. Okay, so once I do though enable it, watch on your own Zoom menu that you're then going to see an option for live transcript. So I'm going to click on live transcript here. And then remember we talked about clicking that enable auto transcription button. So what I'm going to do is click on that. Now I've turned it on. So do you see how the closed captions are starting to appear already? And they're probably appearing, or maybe they're not appearing on your screen yet. You're going to have to say yes.
They are. On
They
my
are,
screen, at least. I don't know
okay.
anybody else.
So it's automatic. And this is what I haven't tested quite yet. So it's good to actually get your feedback to know what happens on your end and be able to talk about it. So you're probably seeing these captions come across. But if you now go to your live transcript button and then the arrow that's right next to it. And so I'm going to go to mine as well. We can do it at the same time. And then we get that sub menu here. So if you want to say hide subtitle, then I'm going to stop that from running on my screen as the host, but then you can choose to keep them on or to turn them off, depending on what you want.
And Shannon, I don't know if this is maybe just me, but
Mhm.
I'm not, like, I don't see a live transcript option. When I need to turn those off, I need to click on more.
Okay, more is
It's
that
because you're sharing screen, Shannon. So Zoom will try to optimize your screen. So if you stop sharing the screen, if Shannon stops sharing, that will pop up at the bottom. So
Okay.
yes, I think that's great to call out, Kelly. Because if someone is sharing their screen and you want to turn it off, you have to go to more.
Yeah.
If you're on an iPad or an iPhone, I think Chromebook is supposed to work the same. I know David has told me it may not, but there's supposed to be like a settings option, like a meeting settings option.
Great. Okay, so I think, Kelly, since I'm still sharing my Zoom windows with you, there might be a more like an ellipsis menu to the right-hand side. And that, if you click on that, then the live transcript might show up there. It depends sometimes on the size of your screen. If you have a big old screen and then Zoom has lots of room to put all of those icons in the bottom, then you might not have that problem. Is everyone so far doing okay with that? And they're able to find the option of live transcript now? I'm going to show you what the view full transcript looks like. So I'm going to click on that and hopefully it'll work with my sharing of screens here. So if I do that, do you see how this new pane shows up on the right-hand side? And then it's an ongoing transcript of everything that's said. Okay, and then Kelly or Rebecca, could you say something and just to make sure, so it's not just coming from me.
Hello. Is the transcript working? Oh, yeah. There I am.
Good. So you see how it has Kelly's name and then it starts with her dictation. And then I'm not sure if you're seeing my face and name show up now that I've started. I can't see it because I'm the host. Oh, there I am. There I show up. So it's probably not perfect, but it's pretty good. And from what we've discovered on some of our regular NLO programs, is that it does a pretty good job with some of the medical terms we've noticed. I'm not sure if it gets carbidopa levodopa right, but
it does not ever get carbidopa levodopa right, ever. But it does get like dyskinesia usually comes up okay. And some other things that I wouldn't have expected it to. It is AI, you know, artificial intelligence. So it's pretty good. I've tested several of these and actually the Zoom one is not bad comparatively.
Cool. Well, thank you. So I just wanted to reiterate here that this running transcript full on the side, it has made my participants pane and my chat disappear. Okay, so it doesn't appear, I don't think I can have them all. Maybe if I had two screens, I'm wondering if I could have more of those options to see, but I just have my laptop here. So this is what I'm working with. So if, as the host, sometimes you do really want to have your participants pane open so you can control the meeting the way that you need to. So I'm going to, if you can see my mouse down here, I'm going to go back to close full transcript. And then you might notice that my participants pane and chat pane aren't here. So I need to click on participants again to reopen that. And then I also need to click on chat to get that back up and running. Is that clear for everybody? Yeah, not too bad.
Shannon, if you would bring up, if you click on, so your panes replace each other. It doesn't bring up a separate window with.
Not on my screen, Donna, because I just have one kind of smallish laptop screen. I'm wondering though, if I had two screens connected, that I could have everything up at the same time. That
I'm on a Mac and it brings up separate windows that you can move around, even though I have a small 13-inch screen. It doesn't do that on yours?
It doesn't on mine. I
It's
wonder if it's a
also
setting.
going to do it this way as well when you're sharing screen. Like, so Shannon is like when Shannon isn't sharing screen, all of my stuff does go to the side pane. On my Mac, my MacBook, I do notice I get the little windows. My guess is it's probably, again, one of those optimization issues and also a setting issue as well. But right now, all of mine are popped up in little boxes while Shannon is sharing her screen.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's helpful.
Shannon wasn't sharing her screen. Should have little boxes pop up too.
Okay.
Is that right?
I hope so.
It's possible.
That's something that I'm missing. So I will experiment more with that, Donna. I felt like when I was playing with it the other day that I was only able to get one or the other to show up for me. So I'm not too sure about that part, but I'm glad.
I just want to make sure if we're using a PC like Microsoft or PC or a Mac, does it make a difference in how this works? To tell other.
So my laptop is a Mac and I'm not as familiar with PCs. I do believe that Zoom is fairly comparable on both operating systems. If anyone else in the meeting today here is on a PC and is noticing something very different, you can unmute yourselves and please let us know, because we just learn by experimenting and messing around with these things. So I think they're pretty similar, Donna, I would imagine.
Yeah, because I know for me, the same thing's happening that you showed, Shannon. Whenever I open the full transcript, I can't see chat or participants. And then when I turn off the transcript, then I have to go back and I can show participants and chat on the side again. And I'm also on a PC laptop. So
okay, PC laptop. Okay, well, that's something to do some investigation on, because it might be nice to be able to have everything open at the same time. So thanks for letting us know, Donna.
Shannon,
Yes.
I'm on a PC and I can do it on my small screen on my laptop, or I can move them around to my other screens. It just covers up, they just cover up the pictures of the people and so forth I want to see fill in.
Okay.
But I can move them around and see what I want to see.
Interesting. Thanks, Allie. Yes. So Kathy asked, can you print the conversation after the meeting? So there is in the back end an option to allow people to save the transcript after the fact. I would be wary of that if this is a support group meeting, right? Because we want it to remain confidential. So it's not like it's similar to not recording a meeting, that kind of thing. So depending on what, like if it's a regular NLO educational program, then I don't see any reason why you wouldn't, want to do that or want to allow that, but I would just be wary of that for support group meetings. David, might be helpful and interesting to have data on platforms in use by participants. Survey, kind of like a poll. David, do you want to unmute yourself and let us know what you mean?
Yes, it keeps coming up, that functionality. I have it all the time, and I'm a weirdo with a Chromebook, so it doesn't matter so much. Maybe there aren't very many people that have that. But the functionality changes so much from platform to platform. It may be useful to know what platform people have. I know I have trouble helping people in my local meetings, depending on which platform they're using when they're having trouble.
Yes, that's a really good question to ask first and foremost. If you're starting a conversation with someone who has a technical issue, okay, what device are you on? And then it kind of, I should have asked that about AC and his question with the number of boxes. So that would have helped us know more quickly what we're dealing with. So that's a good point, David. And I'm sorry that I'm so not helpful when it comes to your Chromebook, because I have never put my hands on one before. So sometimes we just have to play and experiment. Let's see here, David Miles. I'm on an iPad and the transcript comes up as a window floating over the shared screen. Okay, so can you move it around, David Miles?
Nope, not much. I'm trying. And maybe I'm just not finding the right setting for that. The chat, it does the same thing as the chat and participants list on an iPad in the shared screen.
Got it. So it's probably just a real estate issue. There's just not enough space to have everything up and you can see it all. So I think if someone needs closed captions.
To move it around, David, you could click on the title bar that says whatever. It's the title bar at the top, left click on it and it grabs the window and you can move it around. Hold the left click down.
Actually, on mine, it's not moving right and left, just up and down. And if I go down, it disappears.
Are you clicking on the title bar of the window?
Yes, I am.
Left click and
sorry, I'm on an iPad, so I don't have a left click. I guess.
I see.
Right.
Yes.
This is helpful to have the opportunity to try different platforms and hear about it.
Exactly.
Comes up in meetings all the time.
It doesn't it? I know. And so I love this forum and that we can be just more casual and more inquisitive about these things and not maybe know the answers, but we discover. So thanks for playing, everyone. Bobby, how do I show resource materials with the group during our meeting? So that would be your share screen function. There you are, Bobby. So do you see my mouse? So you're looking at my Zoom controls right now. So what I have done is share my screen.
Get mixed up.
So if I click on this button, you'll be able to see what I see as a host. So let me show you that. Okay, so you'll see here, can you see these options? So I'm currently sharing my desktop. So I am sharing everything that comes up on my computer and I can go back and forth between my PowerPoint, a website, a Word document. The only problem with desktop sharing is that they see everything. So if you start to get private messages coming through, they're going to pop up in the top right-hand corner of your screen or whatever it is. So they can see everything. I also have the option to share just one application. So if I were to share this PowerPoint, it would only share Microsoft PowerPoint. And so it's a little safer and more secure, more private. Is that clear there? And so I would click on whatever I want to share. I've clicked on desktop already. So I'll just keep that. And then I have to go to the bottom right-hand corner and click share. And then it'll start sharing. Okay, hopefully that's clear. All righty. I just wanted to show you one more thing about the closed captions before we move on. Down here, again, this is my host version of the live transcript button. If I go to that menu, the third option is here, subtitle settings. And if you'll remember, this is going to take me to my ground control. So this is what I call ground control. That's not a technical term. That's just what I call it. So this is where you can change lots and lots of settings within your Zoom meeting. So you'll see down here at the very bottom, accessibility is highlighted. And so this right here is where you can change the size of your closed captions. So this slider bar here, if I want my captions to be smaller on the screen to take up less space, I slide it to the left. And if I have trouble reading that small, then I can make them
here's how you increase the
nice and big. All right. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Are we pretty good? I'm going to stop sharing so we don't get confused. I'm just need to not be confused myself. So I'm going to stop sharing so now I can see you all and you're not looking at my screen. Okay. We're all good with the closed captions? Yeah. Wonderful. Let me know how this goes for you. We are going to, and Kelly and Rebecca, note to selves, we need to enable the closed captions on our Zoom account for our support groups that we're allowing to use our accounts. So just a show of hands, who is using the PMD Alliance Pro Zoom account for their support group meetings? I just see 1, 2, 3, just a few of you. Okay, so this is something that you're going to need to do on your own Zoom accounts as we've just gone through, but this will be an option for anyone using ours. Okie dokie, I'm going to move forward to the security features and just to go over some of that information just to make sure we understand. So I think most of us have experienced this now with Zoom in the last couple of months, that Zoom it now requires either a passcode to get into a meeting or there are waiting rooms, right? So you can't just Zoom right into a meeting and not have to go through those steps. Now, what I want to talk about now is just the fact that you can use both for extra security. So we have someone on the call. I know she's today, she's a little bit busy, Allie though, and I work with her support group weekly, and she has been utilizing both of these security features. So everyone has to enter the passcode to get into the meeting at all. And she has actually enabled the waiting room as well, and then making sure that she knows the participant's name in the waiting room and she physically admits them. So you have this option to be doubly secure if you'd like. It's not always necessary, it just is up to you. I wanted to let you know about this report to Zoom feature that's available through the backend settings, just like we had done for closed captions. If you go to settings and then in meeting advanced, like we had before, there is this option here to report to Zoom. So if this is toggled on, if someone unfortunately happens to get into your meeting who doesn't belong there, you are able to go to their image, to their ellipsis menu, the 3 dots, and then the pull down menu says remove. So you would want to remove, click remove, and then another window pops up that says report to Zoom ? And it's asking Zoom, like, is this like a total Zoom bomber? Like, no good, you want them to be reported. And so you can click yes or no at that point. If it's someone who you just want to help get out of the meeting because they can't find the leave meeting button, you can also remove someone that way. And then no, you don't want to report them to Zoom because they didn't do anything wrong. They just needed a little help getting out of the meeting. All right. So just a reminder here for an unwanted participant. So this is what you want to do. I just spoke about it. You want to click on remove in their image menu in the top right hand corner, the ellipsis. So you would click on remove and then you can report the person or not. And then just as a reminder, if there are visual or audio distractions. So if someone, I don't know, so visually, maybe they're moving around a lot and it's kind of discombobulating, and you just want to help them out by turning their video off. You as the host have the ability to do that. And that's the same, of course, with audio and background noise, as we've been doing already today. If there is a lot of noise and it's hard to keep focused on our meeting, then you as the host have the ability to hover over their image, go to that little menu and click mute. You can also do that from the participant pane. Actually, the mute is not in the ellipsis, it's right next to it. So it's actually easier to find. It's not a double click, it's just a single click. I'm remembering now. So I think that might, oh yeah. So I just wanted to reiterate too, for any of you who are using our Pro Zoom account, just make sure that you utilize the hosting features. And so, as you know, you're going to go into Zoom and you've had to use your passcode in order to get into the room, but you're going to have to claim host. Yeah, so it's that button in the participants pane, claim host, enter the host key, and that way you have all of these capabilities of doing these fancy things rather than you just being a participant and not having that control. So hopefully that's clear for everyone. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you again. All righty. How are we doing? Does that all make sense with security? Having passcodes, and then you can enable the waiting room as well. Do you know how to enable the waiting room? Yes? Okay. I can always show you that as well if need be. I think that I will now show you the new PMD Alliance website and let you know where the Nsync resources are, and you can find all of the trainings from the past. Let me see if I have that open. Yes, I do. Okay. So I'm now going to share my web browser. All right, so hopefully you can see PMD Alliance's homepage here, and this is the one that scrolls all the time. You'll notice it in the background once you've opened any of our Zoom meetings, that it shows up on your screen and you'll have that scrolling thing going on. So this keeps us in the forefront. Yeah, so you're always able to access our website. And so I just wanted to let you know how to find the Nsync materials, the resources. So this purple button here is where to get started. If I were to click on that, it takes me to this landing page here. And so this is an instruction, and this is for everyone in your support group as well. We're asking people to click where they fall in our ecosystem. So you might have heard this phrase before. So we believe that our community is made up of all kinds of people who are working together to make that person living with the movement disorder, supported and live as fully as possible. So our ecosystem has if you've ever seen this image, I wonder if it's here. No, it's not on this page. So the person with the movement disorder is in the center, and then we have everyone surrounding that person, including care partners and family members, support group leaders, people in the medical community, et cetera, et cetera. So if you see my mouse scrolling over all these different kinds of people in our ecosystem, this is where we are going to focus on here today. So the support group leader page, it takes you to this new landing page here. And so this Nsync online training library is where you are going to find all of the past videos. So I'm going to click on the Learn More. And if I scroll down, then it's going to be in reverse chronological order. So from most recent to back in time. And so we started all of these things about a year ago during COVID. So you'll see all of the roundtables all the app trainings. We have Zoom trainings here. So this is where you're going to access these videos. I'm going to go back one. Let's see if I can do that. Here we go. So I'm going to go, hopefully you're seeing this as I go through. Okay. So that is where you find the training library, and then upcoming online events are going to be here. So that's when we have more specific Zoom trainings for support group leaders in particular, and then in-person events hopefully will be coming soon. All right. We have here in this blue menu, website resource links. So that just scrolls you down. These are things that are just helpful that you can find on the internet regarding Zoom, and then resources, it shoots you down here. And so this is just resources that are available to everyone in our ecosystem, including finding a support group by city, state, exercise groups, et cetera, et cetera. So I am going to stop sharing and see if we have any questions coming up. Let's see, doesn't look like it. So, oh yes, hi, Lauren.
Hi, Shannon. Not a question, but a suggestion when you're talking about the resources. I know here in Orange County, things are starting to open back up and change, excuse me, and change. So I think it's a really good time for everyone to make sure that their support group information and their fitness classes or programs or whatever are accurate on your site, or change them as things change. That way on the app and on your site, we can keep it all correct.
I love that. Thank you for that suggestion, Lauren.
Yeah.
So Rebecca, for that, is it best to send it to info@PMD Alliance?
I would have them send it to you, Shannon, and then we can have you forward that along to the right person.
Okay, great. So I am going to just make sure everyone has my email address. So I'm going to putting it in the chat. It's simply shannon@pmdalliance.org. And so you can send me any updates you might have. Hopefully everyone's aware of our support group listings that you can find. It's in our resources sub menu, and they are organized by state and then city. And please make sure that A, you're on our website, and then B, that the information's correct. Thank you very much. Yes, Donna.
I don't know if you already covered this, but do you have to enable and turn on that the participants can rename themselves?
Yes. Let me share my desktop with you.
Because the other thing that comes up with security, sometimes people are logging in and they're just coming in with a phone number that you don't know or something. So how do you know if you should admit them?
That's a good question. If they had the passcode to get into the meeting, you would hope that they're in the right place. You do have the ability to send a message to someone in the waiting room, and I've done that before. And I've asked, okay, hi, welcome. I hope you're in the right place. Can you please let me know who you are? And then hopefully they can get back to us. It doesn't always work. Sometimes people have trouble kind of understanding how to do that, but that is located in the chat. So can you see my screen here? So basically, if there was someone in the waiting room, I'd be able to see them listed as a separate participant in a different, like they're in the waiting room as opposed to the meeting. And then if I went down here to my send chat to, there would be an option for like send message to those in waiting room, something like that. And so that's a way that you can hopefully communicate with them ahead of time. Sometimes I've had to take the risk. I let them in, and then I'm just watching and making sure that, that they're in the right place. You can also put someone back into the waiting room. Let me see. I'm going to do this to Kelly. Let me see if no, she's a host. So I'll do it to Dave. Okay. So do you see Dave here? And I've gone to his ellipsis menu and his down here, put in waiting room. So that's another way that you can keep your meetings more secure. If you're like, I'm not sure about this person, go ahead and put them in the waiting room and send them a message. And then of course here, I'm going to click remove. And this is when someone is definitely not in the right place. And I would say remove. I'm not going to do that now, but do you see this report to Zoom button? That's what I was speaking about before. We, you know, that it's already toggled. So you would need to untoggle it. Boom. And then I would click remove if Dave just needed help getting out of the meeting. He's not in the wrong place per se. He just needs help. But just know that that is automatically selected there. Okay. And I can just hit cancel and then Dave can stay with us. So
you can do those commands that when you click on the 3 ellipticals, those are the commands that you see as a host.
correct. And so you'll notice as a participant, you only get a couple of options, maybe. I think chat and maybe pin, I think, are the 2 options for you.
And sometimes I get rename there.
And that would be for yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But sometimes people have to rename because, you know, they usually aren't coming in with their full name and they want to rename. Like I know some meetings that I've run. But anyway, and then you can also do that over on your participant pane.
Yes.
If you click on yourself, you get it. Or if you click on the host, that's where that menu comes down. That's the same as clicking on the ellipticals.
Correct. Yes. So it's just what makes more sense to you? Sometimes I like the visual of being able to see someone and then boom, like I can go to their picture as opposed to scrolling through to find their name. So it's just whatever makes sense to you. Yeah, good points. What else can we talk about?
Hi,
Hi,
can we
Sarah.
talk about breakout rooms?
Sure. Have you ever attempted to do breakout rooms?
Yes, we do breakout rooms at every meeting.
Okay.
And some of the issues that I've had are, so somebody's connection goes bad. They sort of leave the breakout room because of that. And then they end up back in the main meeting room and they don't know how to get back in their breakout room.
That is a really good question. So yes, depending on their connection, I've seen it before. It actually happened this past week when I facilitated a workshop. And there was someone who was on a smartphone, so probably using cell service rather than Wi-Fi, something like that. And so I could see that this person was in the breakout room, and then they would disappear. Their name would just be gone. And then I would see it back in the waiting room again, or not the waiting room, the breakout room. And it would happen multiple times. So that was interesting to me because in the past, if someone had been kicked out of a breakout room, sometimes they'd get shuttled back to the main Zoom meeting, which is where
that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you as host usually need to manually put them back into a room.
Now, do I actually have to go back to the main meeting room to do that? Or can I do that just with, the ellipsis or?
That's interesting. So Sarah, you're actually in a breakout room?
So I'm in a breakout room, a separate breakout
host?
room that they're in. Yeah, as a host. And I sort of see a little thing that says somebody's in the main room. And it's the person who lost their connection. So I physically well, not physically, but virtually went back to the main room, put them back in their breakout room, and then went back to my breakout room. But I was wondering, is there an easier way to do that?
That's actually never happened to me. I'm always in the main room. I've never gone into breakout rooms because I feel like I need to keep watch over things exactly like that. I'm curious, do you recall when you were in your breakout room, did you have the breakout rooms window with all of the listings and who's in what room? Could you still see that as the host?
No, but I didn't try to do that. Maybe that's what I need to do, is kind of keep that up on the side. It's sort of, I think, maybe I need to look into the issue of having an extra screen with my laptop, because I think, it's like what you mentioned, like if you have more than one thing on the right side of your screen, then all of a sudden it sort of like starts to impinge on like people's faces and what you're doing.
I know your pain. Yes, it's really hard to keep track of all the separate windows and know what you're clicking on and all of these things. So I have thought too about experimenting with a second screen so that as a host, I have a little bit more space to see everything at the same time without having to, cover things up. So I'm just curious about that. If we have time, if you want to hang out, Sarah, we might be able to experiment with that a little bit, depending on how many people stay on. If you want to see if we can play with whether a host can manage someone in the main room while they're in a breakout. That's very specific. So it's a good question.
The other question I had about breakout rooms is, people sort of want me to list what they've talked about in their breakout rooms, but if I'm not in the breakout rooms and I have this save chat function, will it save 2 separate chats from each breakout room?
Okay, so 2 things. I don't know if you're exactly asking this, but I do know that if you're about to go into breakout rooms and you want everyone to work on something in particular, answer a certain question, then you need to copy and paste or type into the chat and paste everything before you do the breakout room so that they can look at these things as they're in their breakout room. You as a host can't send chats to all the separate breakout rooms. So I just wanted to say that for everyone's sake. Now, saving chat, I think the people who are in their individual breakout rooms need to save their own chat. That's my understanding because it's not connected to the main room. So anything that happens in the breakout stays in the breakout. And so anyone who wants to save that information, they either need to drag, copy it, and then paste it in a different document, or save their chat to their computer and they can access it later. That's my understanding. If anyone knows anything different than that, please pipe in. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful, Sarah. I'm learning too. It's like all these individual experiences. I'm like, oh, yes. Okay. Got it now. But you have to kind of live through it in order to understand. So it's very interesting like that. Let's see. Okay. Anything in the chat here? I'm just if I missed anything. Okay, so David is talking about in-person and Zoom, so that's hybrid. I think Ali asked about that as well, and I can mention something in a second. Yeah, so Danielle, can breakout rooms be set up so that participants can choose which room they want to join versus host assigning to rooms? Let me see, I think I'm sharing my desktop. So Danielle, are you here still? But yes, I see that you're here. I know your picture's not up, so hopefully you're there. If I go to more here, I can go to breakout rooms. Is everyone seeing this? I just want to make sure. Okay. So if you want people to choose what room they're going to go into, you're going to click let participants choose. And then if you want to create, 5 breakout rooms, 6 breakout rooms, whatever, then I'd click create. And now I need to pull this down. Okay, so are you seeing this option here? So if I want to rename it by, say, you want this group to talk about hybrid meetings. You want this group to talk about marketing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going to click open all rooms so that you can see what it looks like from your end. But basically, depending on what you want folks to talk about, and if they're choosing a topic of discussion, perhaps, then they can assign it, or they can assign themselves to that particular room. So if I open all rooms, are you getting a breakout pop-up on your screen that says choose room? And so I've only done 2 examples, one's hybrid, one's marketing. But if I had 5 rooms, 5 different topics, you could potentially choose one and then know where you're going. And is Danielle still, there she is.
I am.
Does
Hello.
that help?
Yes, definitely. Thank
Great.
you.
And so, yes, yep. And so you also, if people have kind of a strange device and they're not able to do it themselves, or they just are having trouble at all, do you see this option here where I can click assign to? You can, as the host, can actually force somebody to go to a room. So I could say, Danielle, what would you like to talk about? And so assign to, and then you would, I could put you in whatever room you wanted as the host.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sure. No. Let's see, Lauren, Rebecca, is there something that you guys are discussing? Logging in separately to each device.
I was just saying that if you have like a newer Mac and an iPad, like I have a MacBook and an iPad and one of the iPad Airs, I can actually use the iPad Air literally as a second screen. So for people who already had to, you can potentially not have to purchase a second monitor if you want.
Got it. Okay. Does that answer your question, Lauren? Yes. Okay, good. Allie.
Actually, I had a question about that.
Sure.
I tried to do that, and even though I turned the audio off on one of my devices, it still produced an echo.
I think it's important to know the difference between turning off a speaker and turning off a microphone. And is it
Okay.
both, Rebecca, that you need to do? Because that always confuses me too, because sometimes I'm like, okay, how is the sound traveling into this device and out of that one? And I'm just like, okay.
So when I use my device as a second screen, it actually uses a program called Sidecar. So I'm not logged into I'm not logged into two accounts. I'm logged into one on my computer, and the computer is extending the display onto a second screen, much like I have like on my PC setup. So I don't actually have to turn off a mic or a speaker, because the sound shouldn't come through the second monitor. It should only come through the computer. You can actually even turn the sound off on the second device if you wanted to.
So could I use my Mac with the sidecar and my iPad as the second screen?
Yep.
Okay, I'll try
You just have
that.
to have them close enough together, and they both, newer is better because it is a newer function, I believe, but it does it over Bluetooth. So
I don't even know what that sidecar thing is. So that's something I need to learn. I have had two devices logged into the same meeting in the same room because I needed to try that. And so what I did was, I believe on my phone, this was the second device. So not only do I mute the speaker, any sound coming out of the phone, but I need to mute the microphone, if that makes sense. So if you completely shut down the audio output and input on one of the devices, it should be okay, and you won't get that feedback. Fingers crossed. David Miles, I saw you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick comment on that. And I've got two things going on. I'm going to do this exactly right now.
Yes, I can hear the
Hold on 1 sec.
hear the feedback, everyone. We can actually do, see what it's like in the moment.
Sorry, I should have done this earlier.
It's okay.
Okay, so on the computer, if you have two devices that are both connected, you can turn off all the audio on one of them, especially on the computer, especially by going to that caret next to the microphone and leaving the, I think it's called cancel audio settings. And so it essentially turns all that off on your device. So have one device that's actually doing the audio, turn off the audio on the other device. It's kind of the same as inactivating each microphone, the microphone and the speaker. It just does it all at once.
It does it at once. Thank you for that. And are you all seeing my shared screen here?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so here's the mute, and then the caret it pulls up this. And so it looks like, David, leave
Yep.
computer audio is
That's
how
it.
you would accomplish that. So you're just cutting off the audio, but the video is going to stay enabled and you can do what you need to do. Thank you for that. I've never used that button.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Wonderful. What else? Any other questions popping up for you? I wanted to just mention that hybrid. This is going to be the big question as we move forward, as we're going from complete virtual meetings to hopefully slowly, carefully, safely in person. And then how is it that we can still engage those folks who only are really able to attend through Zoom? So I'm in the midst of doing research on that, just so you know that that will be coming. I would say just off the top, it's very complicated. It can be like, just as we're talking about different devices in the same room at the same time. With a hybrid scenario, it's going to require more human resources. So you're going to need probably 2, maybe even 3 or 4 people who are co-facilitating at the same time. So I'm just kind of putting this out there just to start so you can noodle on it. So you can't do it alone. I would say just right now, if you start to think about flip-flopping your options and doing a Zoom meeting once or twice a month and then doing one in-person meeting, and you're not trying to take care of everybody all at the same time, because it is quite complicated, both technically and facilitation wise. So if you want to just, even now, if Lauren said, like in California, things are lifting a little bit. I know she and I have talked about, her group did a really nice walk in the park, kind of in-person gathering recently, which is really awesome. And so really just trying to be present fully for the people you have at that moment, instead of being split and not really helping anybody or not fulfilling anything, fully. So, I mean, right now, that would be my suggestion, is just to try to think about what schedule might work for your group and being able to flip-flop and meet everyone's needs and not all at the same time. Now, if you have a speaker or something, if you have an in-person meeting and you have a guest speaker coming and you want those Zoom folks to experience that, you could absolutely have a laptop with a microphone and a video onto that speaker and have them hear all of that information. Well, the hard part about it is having the people in the room hear what the Zoom people are saying, and have the people in the room the opposite as well. So it's seeing and hearing on both ends. And that's the hard part. And that's where the technical issues come into play. But if it's something simple, you just want to have your Zoom folks be able to listen to a guest speaker, totally doable. It's one device. It's not going to be crazy. It's just that people online are not going to hear what the in-person people are saying unless they come up in front of the screen, kind of thing. So just a little teaser, and I will get more specific, and I plan to have kind of maybe 3 different possibilities for you all, options as work group leaders, like a really technical, more ideal situation, something that is in the middle technically, and then something that is simple, but it's not going to function well for everyone, if that makes sense. So I see a couple of hands. I see Nancy's little hand raised, and I also see you, Lauren. So let's start with Nancy, and then we'll go to you, Lauren.
We were doing a hybrid situation with our chapters in San Diego under our nonprofit for about 2 years prior COVID.
Wow.
It wasn't that we were being super creative. We had participants who moved away and wanted to stay a part of the group that they considered family.
Sure.
We were doing it with a mixed caregiver, care partner, person with Parkinson's group, and also with a dual therapy group. And I was the one doing it. And right before COVID happened, at our board meeting, the board tasked me with coming up with something different because it was extremely challenging. We all know now the dynamics of being on Zoom are very different than the dynamics of being in person. And when you're trying to do both at the same time and facilitate, it's almost like you're split personality, for lack of a better description.
Yeah.
So they had said, hey, Nancy, you've got to come up with something different, be it a separate Zoom meeting for those people who have moved away, when suddenly COVID hit and we were immersed in Zoom and no longer live. So I would say I probably, once we do go live again, we've already talked about the fact that our speaker series will probably stay Zoom. It's so much easier to have speakers from wherever easily interface and record. And we'll have live support group meetings, but probably we will also have just a Zoom configuration that's separate and standalone. And that's based at this point on what we had done to date and what the issues we found were, trying to be creative, but I found it exhausting for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And
especially if you're the one in charge.
I'm somebody's got their phone and we're looking up their nose while I'm trying to facilitate live, and
it gets crazy. Yeah,
right, exactly. And the person whose nose you're looking up doesn't realize it, and that becomes distracting to the group. Or the person who's come on Zoom and is, in another state, hasn't talked with us in a while, and suddenly, they are completely unloading, and you don't want to shut them down, but you've got 25 other people that you need to accommodate and make sure you've heard from them as well. So it was like mixing two different worlds simultaneously.
Yes. Thank you for your experience. And that, just having facilitated little workshops like this throughout the year, it's hard enough just to deal with what's going on here, as opposed to thinking about a whole group of, in person. And yes, I mean, support groups, we're supposed to be present and be there for each other. And so it's just really difficult for any human to be able to split that way. And so, yes, I appreciate your input there, Nancy. And so that will be informative as I move forward in putting together a plan, some options for folks if they do wish to take it on. So yeah, so if you're lucky enough to be in a church or a facility where there's an IT person and they can handle all this stuff and set everything up for you, great. But if you're doing it alone and you're running the meeting and, all these things, then it's just something to think about. I love the splitting up, having the guest speakers on Zoom, having an in-person but support group based get together, for connection, and then a separate, Zoom version of that for those who can't all get together. So
one other thing that came up recently, and something that we hadn't thought about at all, we do a phone tree regularly within our particular community. And the feedback we're getting is from people who have Parkinson's who are working, saying, hey, we want a weekend group. Hadn't, I'm ashamed to say it, but it hadn't come across my radar. I just hadn't been thinking about that.
Right.
Much less people with Parkinson's who are working. My bad, but I just hadn't kind of wrapped my head around that. So that's feedback that we're getting right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. And had we not had the phone tree, it would not have come up.
Oh, wow. Isn't that great though? It's really being in touch and connecting with your folks to find out what their needs are, and they will be changing. It is unfortunate with younger onset Parkinson's and those who are still working. They've got kids in the household, lots of things going on, and very different stage of life, perhaps. They have really different needs. So being able to change the meeting times, have them in the early evening, perhaps, or weekend. Yes, wonderful that you're hearing and taking that into consideration. Good. All right. Oh, Lauren, didn't you have something you wanted to say, or hopefully you haven't forgotten?
No, but we solved the problem. Our friend Dave Orlowski was stuck in a breakout room and he couldn't get out of it. And he was
Oh my-
texting me saying, ask Shannon how I get out of the room. But he figured it out. Poor Dave. He's back.
Poor Dave. Oh no. So maybe he chose a room and he couldn't get out. Usually, if you're in a breakout room, there's always a button that says return to main session.
Yeah, I found it eventually.
Oh, there you are, Dave. Was it at the bottom of your screen?
Yeah, it was at the bottom right-hand screen. It's like getting lost from the tour group, you know, the tour group goes in the other direction. And
The bus took off without you, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we circled back around to pick you up.
Thanks,
Hitchhiker.
Lauren.
No problem, Dave. Anytime.
Sorry, I wasn't aware of that happening. Okay, everyone. Any other questions, comments? Let's see. No. Okay, well, this was a good session. Hopefully it was helpful for you. And yes, just keep an eye out. I haven't figured out our next roundtable. We'll have one in April for sure. I just have to figure out the date for that. Yeah, lovely to see you all. And yes, you take care. Enjoy the last few days of March. And we'll be seeing you soon in the next couple of weeks. Keep your eyes peeled for a notification. Okay. Thanks to Kelly and Rebecca for helping out. Bye, everyone. Take care.